Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about weathering, erosion and deposition, which are three processes related to each other. Okay, so what does weathering mean? First, let me define it for you. Weathering is the breaking down of Earth's material into smaller pieces, okay, like the rocks and the boulders, okay? And this is a process that takes a very, very long time. I'm not talking about like a decade or a century, I'm talking about thousands and millions of years, okay? So, but what happens during weathering? Weathering breaks down large boulders into like rocks and rocks into pebbles and pebbles into soil and sand. And these pieces are called sediments, okay? So let's look at this picture. It shows like a piece of like stone and you can see some cracks in here, okay? Can you see the cracks? So what happens that like water can break this actually piece of rock, okay, into pieces? What happens? First, when it rains, for example, water goes into these cracks, okay, and it's like liquid. Water is liquid. Then at night, because it really gets cold and because of the temperature changing, okay, for example, during the winter, the water that is in the rocks, in the cracks, expands because it changes, it freezes, and it changes into ice. Okay, so because and we call this like ice wedging, and because ice expands, then it makes the rock break down. This is the most important agent of weathering we are talking about. So most of the boulders and rocks that we see are broken down because of this reason, okay? So as you can see in this picture, there are lots of cracks, okay? Like lots of cracks. Okay, so water goes in them, then freezes and makes like the rock wreck. Okay, the other agent of weathering is like plants. As you can see, we have a plant here as well, okay? And also you can see in this picture that we have plant. But what happens, how the plant or the tree can break the rock into pieces, okay? So it's because of its roots, okay? So the roots are so powerful that they go into the rock and make the rocks break, okay? And that is what happens when weathering is happening, okay? So that is about weathering, but let's see what happens after big rocks and boulders are broken down into pieces. What happens to those pieces? So the thing that I want to tell you, actually it was from before, so let me just erase it. Okay, so we are going to talk about erosion. What does it mean? Do you remember that we talked about weathered rocks, soil, and sediments? So weathered rocks and soil and sediments are carried by erosion to a new location. For example, imagine that we have a small piece of rock and now water is powerful enough to move it from one place to another place. Or if we're talking about sediment, wind is, for example, strong enough to just pick it and, for example, take it to another place and drop it, okay? So we call this movement from one place to another place erosion. So erosion is a process where natural forces like water, wind, ice, and gravity wear away rocks and soil, okay? So we talked about actually water. I told you about, for example, like waves, and also we talked about the rivers, which can, for example, move the small pebbles or sediments in from one place to another place, and also wind. But in form of ice, we can talk about, for example, glaciers. In glaciers in mountain, glacier, at the bottom of glacier we have rocks, and these rocks or pebbles can move by glaciers to another place as the glaciers are moving, okay, during like thousands of years. And also because of the gravity, this can happen, and rocks, small rocks, or for example pebbles, can just fall down and go to another place. So this movement is called erosion, okay? So basically we talked about weathering, which is the process of breaking down the rocks and boulders, and then after they are broken into pieces, then it is easy for wind and water to move them from one place to another place. And let's go to the last thing. Actually, this is, for example, this is like erosion that has happened by wind, or for example, this is like the erosion by the waves. These are two examples of erosion. Then we have deposition. But what does it mean, deposition? Deposition is the dropping of sand or rock carried by wind or ice, etc. Okay, for example, imagine that we have this little sediments and the river is like wearing them away, okay, moving them from one place to another place, but somewhere it happens that the water in the river is not that powerful or strong to take it more, okay, to move it more, and that is where it drops it, okay. So it is going to be left there, okay. So that is called the position. So the position is basically like dropping of the sediments or rocks or pebbles by the wind or by the river, by the waves, and the stuff. Okay, so this the position happens when the forces carrying sediments like wind and water and glaciers are no longer strong enough, okay, to move the sediments. They just leave it there, okay. So just to make sure that you understand the process, we have a picture here. I want to explain it using this picture. First, we have weathering, which by like freezing the water, for example, ice wedging, which is one of the agents actually of weathering. Okay, the rain goes into the cracks and breaks the big boulders into small pieces, and then by erosion we have the movement of these pieces. Erosion can also have different agents like wind and water, like waves and rivers, and also other things like glaciers, ice, and then we have they deposit it, okay. So it means that they just drop it off somewhere where they are not strong enough to take it anymore, okay. So that is called deposition. So for breaking we can say weathering is like breaking, erosion is like moving the sediments, and deposition is like dropping off the sediments. Okay, so thank you very much for listening and for watching this video. See you later. Bye.